Oh, okay. So
all right.
Take
all
a
right.
breath.
Yeah,
I'm
okay,
just
here we
glad
go.
to be back.
All right, here we go.
Hey.
All right, so this is our second take. So Edwin, he's totally 86 our first take.
Right.
Because
like
Kevin asked the question to Sam, how did you get that removed?
Yeah.
And it just sort of went from there.
Yeah.
You know? And so anyway, so this is take number 2. Kevin,
Right.
go ahead.
Hey, welcome to another
All right.
Journey Now podcast.
My name's Mike, and I'm surrounded by dudes in glasses.
I know.
And it's
Cheers.
a lot of eyes right now.
Yeah.
A lot of eyes.
Yep.
A lot
you
of
look
big
great.
eyes.
Big
Big
eyes.
eyes
Big
right
eyes.
now, ladies and
look
gentlemen.
great.
Is this filmed in HD?
Ooh,
Edwin, is this in
HD? Are we
4K.
4K?
Is that better?
I don't know.
Yes.
Better than HD? Okay. I mean, because I'm wanting. I keep wanting to lower the resolution.
Well, it used
the
to
more
be
I'm on
XL.
YouTube.
Now it's 4K.
That's it.
Yep.
Man, listen. So I was on the. I did a guest spot on the Holy Post podcast yesterday.
I heard.
And they do
podcast.
not appreciate.
Our humor.
Well, so they have a thing called Holy Post Plus, which is like behind a paywall.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, let's do
All you
Holy
Patreons.
Post Plus, and it'll just be for the plus size payroll. And I was giggling, and I thought that was funny, and I got nothing.
They didn't like it.
So
Did they
I
edit
know.
it
So
out?
this feels way more. I'm sure they will. This feels. I'm backing with my people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Is
saying?
this
I'm
Journey
with
Plus
you.
Plus?
This-
Plus.
This
Yeah.
is Journey Plus Plus?
This is Journey Plus Plus.
Okay.
Exactly. I mean, if you took. Do you guys want to do pant sizes right now?
Yeah,
Whoa.
let's do it.
Because
I'm
I will
down.
say, okay, what do you got?
3430.
Okay, 3430. Robert?
Really?
3830.
You wear 30 length?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like 6'4". I'm like 5'8". How did that?
See now the
I mean, well, hold
judgment.
on.
No
Yeah, what's the
judgment
judgment
on
about?
pant
Let's
size.
keep going.
Okay,
Okay,
keep going.
Kev.
3230.
Yeah, that was when I was 8. Good morning. What size is your shirt today?
Medium.
Oh, it's a medium.
Medium.
Yeah.
Medium. I wear
I
mediums.
am 46-30. Yeah.
Wait a minute. What was your length?
30?
30?
But I
30?
cuff
30?
mine a lot too. I
30,
could probably do
30.
like a 24.
Ah.
That's right.
We all have the same length legs.
Yeah. So there you go.
I think that's weird.
I mean,
Well-
I think it's normal.
Is it a normal length?
I don't know.
I don't have trouble finding pants.
Yeah. Me neither.
You either?
I don't wear any.
Yeah.
but-
I know.
When
but-
I wear pants, I have no trouble
Yeah.
finding them.
Yeah.
My size. So.
all right.
all.
Well, ladies and gentlemen,
Oh,
welcome.
in certain pairs of jeans,
Susie
I
is
wear
not
33
here.
30s.
Okay.
Tim is not here. We have
because you can't ask that question. When
We
you-
brought in
have-
the bench,
No,
man.
no.
You
We've
cannot.
got Sambo.
Yep.
We've got Robert J. Gonzalez.
Attorney at law.
Yeah,
Oh,
attorney at law. Dude,
gosh.
you
Oh,
look
my
so good. He's got a
gosh. You
corduroy
do look like an
jacket,
attorney.
no hat today,
Looks
and
the part.
just solid,
Yeah.
solid
Well,
specs on those eyes.
it's
And
a
if you've
Tuesday.
never looked at Robert's eyes, they're beautiful and they're
gosh.
big and they're brown.
And the
It's
hair.
so true.
True.
And the
You look
hair.
so good. You look
know,
so
My
good.
brown-eyed
You
Rob.
know the hair.
Yeah.
You know that's
There-
why I
there's
wear
so
a
much.
hat.
There's so
Dang.
much. Yep. And
And-
Kevin today,
I'm
And Mike.
he's got a medium. He's got his medium shirt on. He's got a lot of
This
arms
feels
going.
like Journey Plus
A
Plus.
lot of arm, huh?
This feels like Journey Plus Plus material.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And Mike
if we
would-
put this behind a paywall, I guarantee one person would probably pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That person would have nothing better
we
to
can't
do.
even give it away.
If you weren't here on
we should be paying people for
I
this
know.
material.
if you weren't here at 9:00 on Sunday, Mike said something about a gal's hair in
Yeah.
the audience, and she shot right back. It
Wait,
was.
I
Sherwin.
actually got a
So
couple.
I missed this.
It was
yeah, so
spectacular.
So I walked
Sherwin.
out.
Okay, so Sherwin is one of my favorites.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
She asks questions. She's
every
curious.
week.
She's
She's
brilliant.
awesome.
She's smart, and she's got it. Like, just I would not do this to people I didn't know.
Yeah.
and I know her well.
Yeah.
So, and she looked great.
Hi. Okay. So.
Hi, Sherwin.
Hello. Okay.
I like your hair today.
Oh, well, thank you.
Absolutely.
I like yours. Okay.
And
And it was
Perfect.
instant.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
It was
perfect.
Yes.
I actually got a couple texts about that.
Did
you
you?
hear? Did you hear? Did you hear her come back to Mike?
Yeah, I know.
So
It's
funny, dude. I
So
love
great.
it.
So great. Perfect. So it was perfect.
and she didn't flinch. She just kept on talking.
Nope. And then she's like, okay, so here's my question.
Yeah.
She didn't even take a victory lap.
No,
or anything.
not nothing.
quick. She's
It was-
The whole room broke out laughing.
Oh,
And
So I
she was
heard
like-
it from out here, and I was like, ah, dang
Yeah,
it. just missed
something good happened. Something good happened. So when people talk about, hey, God is at work at Journey Church, that's what we're
Yeah.
talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, he is.
You know?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
The shaming of the bald people.
Oh,
yes.
There are lots of us.
There are.
You know, and some of us wear hats.
And some of us heading that way.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Not
You
not
know?
Rob.
No, Rob's got a full nice.
So my grandfather had a full head of hair. I mean, his
Is
entire
that's
life.
that's the
Your mom's
rumor,
side,
right?
I think.
think
right?
so.
On your mom's side?
Your mom's
Yes.
side. That's what I've
Yeah,
always
so did
heard.
mine.
Yeah.
Wow,
Mine
didn't work.
He had a cul-de-sac, man. He had the
The
like
rim,
the horseshoe
the
head?
rim of the Grand
I'm like,
Canyon.
Grandpa, just
Horseshoe head.
You can just nix all of it, you know.
Yeah.
And he's like, nah. He wanted to keep part of it.
What's
so.
a good question? Okay, here's a question for
Okay.
us. All right,
Okay.
just because
There's a
you
lot
know,
of women
people-
going, why are these people talking about this? But
Yes.
our two women listeners.
a lot may be generous.
yeah.
Both.
Yes.
So they heard 4 male voices and are like,
Like,
nope,
no, not
no,
this one.
no, no, no.
Where's
Susie's
Susie?
not here.
Where's
Yeah.
Next
Susie?
podcast.
Susie's
We're talking
in
about
Arizona.
gender roles too
Tips
today, right? This is the podcast.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. This
Yes.
is where we're talking about Eve.
Yes.
No one.
So my question
Biblical
is
womanhood.
this. Yes, if you were not doing this, what you're doing now, what would you be doing and why? All right. So like, don't worry about education or whatever else. Like, what would you love to be doing?
Occupation?
Yes.
Oh.
Occupation. What would you say?
As
Ken?
a 6-year-old or as a just a,
you now.
me now?
You now.
You can
But
just-
you,
you
but
can just
you
switch it.
can
No-
fast-
no-
you can
no
just-
nothing. You can just go.
swap right over.
You magically get the skills you need.
Correct.
Oh, magically
yeah.
get the skills
Yeah.
I need.
Like, what would you want to do?
Oh no! See, I've never thought about it that way. Go on to somebody else. I got
No,
think
no, you have to start
Why do I have to?
because I don't know what I'm gonna say yet.
Yeah.
Well, it would be really intriguing to be a. Now this is going to sound really bad.
No judgment. This
No
is
judgment?
free.
No judgment.
I mean, there was judgment earlier with the pant sizes, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all equal.
We're all 30.
equal
We're
around
all,
the
length.
table.
we're all 30 length.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. We're good.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah.
A politician.
This on today's.
I have
At what level?
a level that
You seem like school
could
board material.
introduce some level of sanity
Okay.
into the insanity.
Kevin for president.
Yep.
Yeah.
I did get-
2028.
I'm voting.
I
Let's
am-
shirts.
RevKev.
I am
RevKev for
I
president.
am stunned at the lack of quality people.
But would you agree that we have enough old people in there?
Yeah, that's the problem.
Okay.
Right.
So we need to go with someone young like
right.
yourself.
Like myself, like 60.
Strapping
Yeah,
young
that'd be
voter.
great.
I mean, that's like 30 years younger than the current options.
With
so.
everything I know now, with a, and
like
what I've
it.
been, yeah,
I'd vote.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
That's not what I
Striking.
would have thought.
not what I
Striking.
thought.
That,
at all.
that was not even in the
Yeah.
realm.
I like
of
that.
my-
I'm glad I asked this question.
Yeah,
Well
it's
done,
good.
Kev.
There you go.
Well done,
I thought
Kev.
you could say like goat farmer or something.
Yeah.
Mechanic is the one he normally
Oh,
goes
that's
with.
what I thought.
Well, I have that skill set.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't necessarily have politician skill sets.
Well,
so.
I mean, I don't know. I've seen you work a room.
yeah.
So, all right, Robert, are you prepared? Attorney at law?
There's
Robert
a
J.
number of
Gonzalez,
things,
attorney at law.
that I could be doing.
No, of course you could be.
I choose it.
But
Yeah.
yeah. This is a sacrifice to be here.
We appreciate your sacrifice.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the easy answer would be something with photography, but I think if like money was not an option and like, I don't know, the idea of owning like a business or a restaurant,
Yeah.
something in like
Yeah.
the
As long as,
service
Liv
Liv,
could-
as long as Liv is the chef.
like a coffee shop would be really cool
Yeah.
if I didn't have to like, I don't know, like
Yeah,
mortgage
Holy
my
Grounds.
house or something to like pay
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
Hebrews.
Oh, yeah.
Hebrews.
Of course. Oh,
my
I could
God.
see that. Small business owner, Robert J. Gonzalez.
Or attorney at law.
Either one.
I don't think I'd want to do law.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not your dream?
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
mine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're right.
No
Yeah.
shame, Kev.
Yeah,
Politician.
no
He
shame.
goes, I don't want to
Yeah.
do law, but I'll do politics.
Hello, Senator
Well,
Dixon,
Yeah, this has more to do. Never mind.
a representative from Tennessee.
The country needs some
Kevin.
sane voices
It does, and some good coffee shops.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Those two things.
Holy grounds.
Is Dunk? Never mind.
All right. Sambo.
Yes.
Sambo's already been a rock star, so
Well,
that's
it's
crossed
funny because that, like, literally, I hope this doesn't sound, I don't know,
off. No judgment
no
here.
shame, no judgment.
Yeah.
Like, music
Sounds
isn't
awful.
obvious. But
I can't believe
well, hold on, because I really love what I get to do now too. Like, I tell Angela all the time, I'm like, I'll do this when I'm 80 and, you know, I'm not drawing a salary. Like, there's something with people. I don't know, just being with people. And that's what I loved about music. And it's what I love about what I get to do now. So probably something similar.
Sam also shared
Okay,
he always
that's
wanted to be
awful.
he wanted
That's
to
an
be
awful
a
answer.
Calvin Klein model
Well,
for a
no,
long
I
time.
already was.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
I thought he said proctologist.
Well,
Well,
I mean,
It's in a different life.
yeah.
Oh, that's in a
He's
different life.
yeah, he's
Okay.
read up on Wikipedia. He's a Wikipedia certified expert.
That's right.
And
So-
yeah,
Need help?
WebMD searches take you to
I
Sam's.
feel like running a Walmart is up your alley.
page.
Yeah, I could manage a Walmart.
Yeah.
Oh, you would be the
I
best.
could do that.
Oh my
Yeah.
lord.
He knows everything.
He
about
does. He
Walmart.
knows everything about Walmart, and he loves,
I'm from Indiana.
loves.
Do they still have Kmart's in Indiana?
I don't know if there are
Sad
Kmart's
day.
anywhere anymore.
Sad day.
I don't know.
What
Yeah.
Sears bought them, right? Or
Yeah.
Kmart
We had
bought Sears,
one.
and then they all shut down.
When we moved
You had a
to
Walmart?
Pennsylvania,
We had a
Jamesway.
Kmart.
You ever heard
We
of
didn't have a
Jamesway?
Walmart.
No.
It's like a cheaper
No
Kmart.
Target. No.
Do you remember AIM?
Oh yes.
AIM,
Yes.
like
Yeah,
those stores.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Target was below us. Apparently.
Ooh,
Whoa.
Walmart was where the rich people went.
No, we had a Kmart.
Oh,
We had a
Was
Kmart
Kmart
that
the
was
nice
like
one?
no, it wasn't. It was just it had been there for so long.
Yeah.
Walmart's where the
And
rich
so we wanted a Target, and the city was like,
They said no?
No, we're not a
no,
Target kind of city.
we have a Kmart. We're fine.
Yeah.
and the Kmart went out of business.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh.
2 weeks later.
Oh,
So
Huh.
rest in peace, Kmart.
yeah, seriously.
Did you all ever shop on the Sears catalog when you?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so for our younger person,
right.
I heard
Catalog
you,
is a
I heard you could buy a house
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
catalog.
You
Yeah.
could. Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that where you bought your first?
No. I bought no.
Did you have to assemble it yourself?
weren't
No.
they super? They were like really thick.
What's that?
And you
Oh,
could
catalogs. Yeah,
see
you get
yours-
just-
Oh,
catalogs,
gosh.
like, it had everything.
Mike,
Yeah.
that's what we would every Christmas. We would highlight everything in there we wanted, and J.C. Penney. It was J.C. Penney catalog. And
JC
JC
still
wasn't
exists.
as thick.
yeah,
Yeah.
Wow, I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
remember-
J.C. Penney.
Remember
It
Sky
wasn't.
Mall?
yeah, oh yeah, on
Yeah,
every
that was the
airplane.
worst.
On an airplane.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
we
like, I'm
haven't
gonna
heard-
order this huge
We still have to
statue
hear
while
from
I'm
Mike.
flying through there.
What
Yeah.
would Mike
That's
do?
like the Oriental
Oh, yeah.
Trading Company of the
What would
skies.
Mike do?
Totally. That's so true.
What would you do,
Oh
Mike?
man, if I could just swap it out, I would
Anything.
be a Division I college football head coach.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Coach Mike.
Absolutely.
You were very sure.
I
Coach
of that,
Weary.
too.
Yeah, absolutely. I coached high school football. Love.
Did you
Yeah.
really?
Yes.
Shelf life.
Were
for
you
those
good?
Babies
Were you a
isn't
good
long.
coach?
No, it's not.
Either it isn't
Was
for
I?
politicians
I was.
either.
Okay.
I was. I'm not. My
If you
my
were,
primary giftedness was not like the genius of strategy, but
Yeah.
but I loved my players
Inspired
and they played
players,
hard.
I bet,
Yeah. And so it was great.
Yeah.
That's
I
awesome.
I really,
That
I really
explains a
loved it.
lot.
Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah.
so the idea of like making a difference in the lives of college kids and all those sorts of things
Sure.
is really fun.
Would you walk around with a whistle?
No, I would be like Roy Kent, and I would just
Yeah.
shout whistle.
Yeah.
You know. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen, we've got breaking news
Yeah.
slid right
Breaking
here
news.
from Edwin.
It was. Super
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go.
What do we got?
Here we go. All right, so
Poll results.
so Tim Timmons
Yes.
threw out a poll, and between Twizzlers, Red Vines, and neither, and
Neither
and
wins.
neither. Yeah. So
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Which people
this,
prefer?
this? Yeah. Which do you prefer?
It's
Red
disappointing.
Vines, Twizzlers, and obviously.
But Twizzlers won.
I'm
Yeah.
with you. Oh, they did.
Obviously,
No, neither
Kevin
one.
is in the Twizzlers camp very strongly. The whole office was decorated.
He's been
with Twizzlers.
indoctrinated.
Thanks again, Opperman.
Red Vines, and this was great. We had 4 people vote,
Wow.
and
It's a huge return.
yeah, so 2 of them
One of
voted
them was
for neither.
Kevin.
Wow.
One of them voted for Twizzlers, and one of them voted for Red Lines.
Red vines.
Yeah, and one wrote in something.
Yeah, and one wrote in, man, all of this makes me want to barf, and I want to listen to a different podcast.
There was a write-in vote.
So, but I
was
don't
for
know how many
Werther's-
votes. How many
Werther's
votes did we get,
Caramel.
Edwin?
I'll have to ask.
Yeah, I would say it's got to be in the singular
Thousands.
digits.
But Twizzlers won, right?
false. Neither
won.
46%.
Meaning people would prefer not to have either.
Either. Yes.
Wow.
See, that's a
Yeah.
crime.
That's
I know,
that's
yeah,
yeah.
that
If I'm
doesn't
going to
feel
waste
right to me.
calories, I don't want to chew on rubber.
If I'm going to waste a vote, I'm not going to put neither.
Yeah. Well,
That's true.
I'm just saying. I'm protesting the options.
Uh-huh. Me too.
It's like third-party candidate.
Yeah.
I'm writing in Kevin Dixon
Right.
for president
Right.
2024.
There it is.
Yeah.
That's my neither.
You'll
Yeah.
have 3 votes for
Yes.
sure, Ken.
Ah.
Exactly.
thanks, guys.
Exactly. Now, speaking of voting, we
Oh, wow.
That was
Yep.
so good.
Oh, we
Yep.
transitioned.
God kicked Adam and Eve off the island. Okay, at the tribal
They
council.
got voted off the island.
They got voted off.
No immunity
The
idols.
Trinity considered, and they said, "Well, nope. I think these
I
guys.
think it was 2-1,
I
though.
think these guys need to go.
I-
you think that like Jesus was like, nah, let's give him another shot.
Give him another chance. Yeah.
So they get voted off the island,
Yep.
Yeah.
and now Now we live in a world with red vines and Twizzlers.
Ooh.
Yeah, you got to
That
dig for
explains
that.
a lot.
Before it was only Twizzlers in the garden. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
No, it was all black licorice.
Oh yes.
So,
I do like black licorice.
Yes.
yeah, the snake was shaped like black licorice.
Yeah.
Um,
there had to be a
so
choice.
we've been
There's some truth
just
to that.
plowing through
Yes.
some of the most controversial stuff. And so we did a load, just a boatload of work on this verse where it says, God seems to say to the woman, I will make your pains and labor very severe.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were looking at the Hebrew words behind that and saying, man, I'm not sure this is how you translate those based on how they're used other places. And they're, and so, I mean, if you're interested, go listen to that. There's a very tedious center part to that
You
we go
did.
through.
You
that.
showed your work.
We try to show the work.
Yeah.
But it raised a really, really great question from several people about the trustworthiness of our English Bibles. Then, if it's like we saw this with rib and side, right?
Right.
All the English translations have the woman was made from the man's rib,
Right.
but the word is side, and it's an architecture
Right.
word, and that's the only way it's used. It's never used of anatomy. And so it's like, well, okay, then why is it still in there? And the same question then around some of these Hebrew words that we were exploring around, well, it sounds like it's labor pain, but it's actually much bigger than that.
Yeah.
So,
Is there bigger pains than labor pains?
well, I mean, I don't think
I know
so.
a group
Have
of
you
men
had
can answer this
a paper
question.
cut? No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Joking.
That's one of the risks of attorney at law.
This from the guy who wanted to stop and get something to eat on the way to the hospital.
Wow. Okay. First of all,
It's going to be a long day.
mistakes were made.
Yes, yes.
And we delivered on the side of the road.
You never made it.
Never made
Yeah,
it.
what
But-
ended up happening?
Yeah,
Delivered our sweet Adelina on the side of the road. So.
yes. But
My
you
wife-
were well
But
fed.
he had his Big Mac.
Yes.
I did not even eat. That was the problem.
Oh, really? But you didn't even, did you stop?
Okay, quick story. I was playing video games while my pregnant wife was taking a nap.
That's fair.
She was
You're preparing.
texting me saying,
Taking a
I
nap.
think we're in labor.
Okay.
I didn't see the text.
It's the Royal.
Oh,
What
wow.
game were you playing?
That's not important.
Okay.
Fortnite.
Fortnite.
Were you really?
It
I
was.
was totally joking. That's
Candy
actually-
Crush, baby.
No. I would have saw the text.
Yeah. Yeah. True. True.
Anyways, we didn't make it. Delivered on the side of the road.
Oh, after you stopped.
Yeah.
Well, because I didn't have gas. Because I didn't know she was going to be like, she didn't
that's
tell me
good.
she was delivering that day.
So you had
Yeah.
to fill up,
Yeah.
get something to
We had to
eat,
get-
and then we'll get
This
you to the
story
hospital
gets
bed.
better and
I know,
better.
yeah,
Yeah.
boy.
No shame. No
Yeah.
shame.
Yeah.
So I was
Robert,
like,
no shame.
let's.
Yeah.
I need gas because we got to get to Nashville from Spring Hill.
Oh, dang.
And so I'm filling up, and,
And
I'm
you're
like,
like, I'm hungry.
I'm like, hey, do I have time for a Coke?
Yeah.
She's like,
Oh, my
no.
gosh.
Yeah.
I was like, all
Yeah,
right, got
okay,
it.
I
Point
guess
taken.
we'll-
Now,
They have a cafeteria at the hospital, don't they, babe?
can we?
It was the hardest couple of days of my life.
So you
Liv was
pull
fine.
over. She's like, the baby is arriving right now.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, I need a pan of hot water, some clean towels, and some tweezers.
Twizzlers.
What
Twizzlers.
happened? I mean, what happened? What do you mean
Well-
on the side of the road?
I'm not sure how to explain this to you, Mike, but when a woman gives birth, a baby
Arrives.
arrives,
He's dork.
and it arrived in our car,
But
Which car was that, by the way?
the Subaru.
The Subaru.
We're still waiting for
by
our
the way, it's
replacement Subaru.
it's for sale.
It's gone. It's long gone.
It's for sale. If you want a slightly used
Gently.
birth carriage,
Gently used.
You know,
it smells faintly of placenta,
smells
but
great.
it's fine.
no, I can't make a joke about that. All right,
Yeah, we probably just
back
wanna
to the
keep-
question.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the pain that Eve
Yeah.
was fully embodied in Sweet Liv, because it was not
Yes.
only the pain of labor, but it was the pain of a man who was utterly unhelpful.
Well, the funny thing is,
He was driving, though.
Well,
I was.
was he?
Yeah.
I mean,
Or was he?
she would say it was her best.
Get
It was her
Coke.
best delivery.
well, I mean,
Okay.
yeah,
She experienced what she would say is very minimal pain,
yeah,
Wow.
which I don't
That's interesting.
understand it. But
yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
because you stopped at the gas station.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I got her some Twizzlers.
Yeah.
She was going through it while you were in the line at McDonald's, so you got there
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
at the end.
Could I have extra
yeah,
napkins?
Yeah, you know.
Can I have some extra napkins here, and maybe you guys
So-
have scissors?
I don't know what are you doing with
Need a coffee
scissors?
stir and a
You're
pack of sugar.
snipping the
Oh,
line,
okay. You're
the
right.
line, tether, the anchor. What is it? The umbilical
Called the
cord.
umbilical cord.
Yes.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, the lifeline.
I'm so glad we're talking about this topic
Life
on an all-male podcast.
People tune in to hear 4 men talk about gender roles and childbearing.
Yeah, perfect.
That's what we
Susie,
need.
please
Yes,
come back.
we've
quickly.
now reduced our listenership
But that's-
back down to the dear listener.
Right.
Thanks,
Hi,
Brad, for hanging
Thanks,
in
Brad.
there.
We love you, Brad. All right. I mean, that's just an amazing story, Robert. I mean, I know you've talked about that before, but it's like I really, I mean, it's like, hey, I'm pulling over, and Liv's like, well, say hello.
No, she actually said, I think I have to push, and I was like, can you hold it?
Oh my gosh. That's
I was woefully uninformed. So.
Yes.
But our daughter's great.
yeah.
Well, no, I mean, she is,
Yeah.
and it's a testimony to God's
Yeah.
greatness.
Great.
But like, did you keep driving to the hospital at that point? I'm
No,
hoping.
we
They
actually
weren't alone. There was somebody with them.
Yes, but we had
Okay.
to we had to call an ambulance.
True.
And then we had to put the newborn in a car seat because they can't travel in the ambulance
Oh
without a
my
car seat.
gosh.
No.
Yeah.
So her
No.
first experience was
Hey,
out of
buckle
here.
in.
Now I'm into a car seat. Wow.
Oh my word.
And so we were in,
Okay.
and then
know
in
that.
traffic.
That's a bad idea.
So we
Okay.
walked into the hospital with our baby.
Oh
And they still tried to charge us for delivery.
Are you
no.
serious?
Yeah.
Oh.
Lori's when Alyssa was born,
Yeah.
Lori's doctor never made it to the hospital and still charged us.
Here we
Wow.
go. This is
Kevin
where,
for politics.
This is
Here-
where
this
this is where men can really speak
Yeah.
to the pain
Yeah,
of
yeah.
delivery.
Yeah.
Yeah, he lost a lot.
I was like,
Ladies are like,
wait a
"Shut
minute.
up."
He didn't even show up.
I
And he
know.
gets paid.
Oh, we're the
know.
worst.
I
We're the
know.
worst.
We are.
Sam's over there going, yeah, that's how it works.
Well,
Liv, if
no,
you
we had
listen
an
to this,
experience
I
with a
love
doctor
you.
too.
Yeah. Anyway, well, God bless
okay.
those guys.
All right. So
All right, so
back to the question.
Back to the question.
we're back to the question. Okay,
yeah.
so if this is reminiscent of a few of the questions we got.
Okay.
Representative, I meant, not
Yeah.
reminiscent. But if we are regularly reading translations of the Bible that have large potential biases or inaccuracies, shouldn't we consider switching to something better?
Yeah. Let's.
And then there's some second parts, but
Yes.
let's start there.
Let's start there.
Switch to. I think that's an interesting phraseology.
Yes.
It's an interesting way to pose the question.
Yeah.
That have large potential biases and inaccuracies.
Yes.
Shouldn't we consider switching to something better? I wonder what would be better.
Yeah, that's a good question.
What's better mean?
Well, I mean, I think that if you're not familiar with translation philosophy or the history of Bible translations, that's a really good question. Like,
It is.
why would we use Bibles that are inaccurate?
Right.
And so, because what I want to say is, well, the NIV that I prefer is, I think, as good as there is for what it does.
Right.
And so,
That's
let's-
considered to be a dynamic equivalent.
Yes. So let's talk about translation philosophies for a second. So you have very static translation philosophies that simply go word by word.
That would be a New American Standard
New
Bible.
American Standard. would be a great-
King
English
James would be that
Standard.
way.
Yep.
Whoa.
Yep. And then you have dynamic equivalents, which are more paragraph for paragraph or thought for thought. And they're typically more readable and approachable in English. And then you have paraphrases.
What would be NIV
NIV would be an
like
example.
Living Bible,
New Living Translation would be
yeah.
an example of
Yeah.
that.
Those kinds
The
of-
Living Translation is a paraphrase, but New Living
New
actually
Living,
had a
that's what I meant.
committee
Yeah.
of really reputable scholars.
Yeah.
ESV, which we'll get to in a second.
Yeah.
But then you've got the paraphrases
RSV.
that most
different.
of these are done by committees. And if you want to look at the breadth and width of the scholarship represented, that will tell you if there are any biases because they vote. I mean, ultimately,
Literally.
you have scholars.
They compromise.
Yeah, and you will have 2 or 3 different views on something, and you will vote, and the majority typically wins.
And in the good translations, they will put a variant reading in there.
Exactly. That's it.
This is the variant reading. This is the one we couldn't agree on. We disagree between this and this. And if you read the Amplified Bible, you get all the variants.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Exactly. So like if you go on the Bible Gateway and you type in, Genesis 1, you'll see little letters after certain words that will take you down as footnotes, and you'll read or this. And so that's exactly what Kevin's talking about. So I'm really comfortable with the translation of the NIV. Now, the question is, why are there inaccuracies? First of all, not everyone would say that that's inaccurate. You've got loads of scholarship saying, no, it's actually labor pains. So every point that I was making on Sunday, there's a counterpoint.
Do they show their work when they say that too?
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
they do.
But it's not, for me, and the scholarship I read, it's not at all compelling. It's preloading a certain assumptions into the text. And
Okay.
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, I was just for clarification's sake. Everybody comes to the text with presuppositions. So even the committees come with presuppositions.
Yeah.
And so you end up with this, and it's not a collaboration as much as it is a compromise usually.
Yeah, because what will happen is you'll divvy up Old and New Testament among the scholars who have that particular expertise.
Yeah.
But the biggest, so what I've tried to do is look at who's on the committee. And there are some Bible translations that have a very, very, very restricted theological bent towards their committee, like ESV. These are people that are all complementarians, that all have conservative views on gender roles. And so they make some interpretive decisions that reflect that. And likewise, I mean, there's nobody who's free of that. But I like the NIV translation committee. Now, one of the reasons why, even though we know, as we saw in Genesis, that it's not the rib, that it's the side, the reason rib stays in there is because if we were to change it to side, you would get hundreds of thousands of people saying you're changing the word of God in protest. And remember, Bibles are sold. This is a for-profit enterprise.
Boom, boom.
So years ago, the NIV translated a word adelphoi, which means brother or sister. It's not gender specific, but it's translated in older translations as brothers. They updated it to just include and sisters. And the revolt in evangelicalism, no, they did other things too.
Yeah, they did.
But that was the thing that really set a lot of people off was, it's just brothers. But the revolt against the NIV, it was called the New International, the TNIV.
Yes.
Today's international version.
Yep.
That it was ridiculous, and so they reverted back in some cases, and then they updated the update and whatever else. But that just goes
They revised the revisions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that goes to say, listen, modern scholarship may have pushed beyond the committee scholarship that was done in 1984, which is when the NIV came out.
For sure.
But the cost of updating the Bible among people who really don't know how it works, and now it's brothers and sisters. Well, you're just being woke. You're just being like you're becoming liberal.
Yeah.
And so no Bible publisher is going to want.
It's going to touch it.
Yeah.
They won't touch it because it won't
Do you know,
sell.
like, what's the last iteration or update or version that has come out recently? Do you know?
I only know the 2011 NIV. That's
Okay.
the one I use. They haven't updated it since then.
Right.
So, but in terms of others,
But there's been versions of the Bible that were not committees.
correct, and that's where you get a paraphrase. So, like Eugene Peterson. Thank you.
The
guys.
message.
The message. Now, Eugene has a great working knowledge of Greek. He's in the ballpark. But he's not a committee. He's a committee of one.
Yeah.
Same with N.T. Wright. N.T. Wright writes his own translation. Scott McKnight has his own translation. And they represent scholarship, absolutely.
Yeah.
But they still are making those decisions by
But
themselves.
that's a singular voice in
Correct.
those. Got it. Yeah.
Correct. Now, so I think healthy Bible reading is reading one from each category. So I love NIV and I preach out of it because it combines scholarship and readability, even though there are times I think there are other interpretive choices that could be made. But when I study, I like New American Standard because that is as literal as you can get. And I like something like The Message because there are times Eugene will hit a turn of phrase that really does capture something that's, wow, it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the point is you can trust your English Bibles for 96% of everything. Yeah, I calculated this last night.
Okay, I hear you.
Yep, 96%. But there's a 4% where the translation committees are going to diverge.
There's disagreement.
And
on the basis of different philosophies
Yes.
or different interpretive traditions that they represent.
Right. And so some things, to quote a movie, get lost in translation.
Oh,
Wow. That was deep.
But it's not that the original isn't clear. It's that it doesn't. There's oftentimes it's just not a good word to take from the Hebrew into the English. It just it takes so many words, or it's like, oh, the nuance of this. How do we do this without making
or it's
it
used one time,
right
in all of biblical literature? And it's like,
so it behooves you. I'm going to use that word.
Wow.
Behooves you to pay attention to the footnotes because they'll give that to you. They'll give you, if it's a good translation, it'll say there's an alternative reading to this, and it's down below.
yeah. What were you going to say, Robert?
I was just going to say, like, what
good,
is
thanks.
I grew up on ESV, NIV, the Message. But like very early on, like King James Bible was all the craze. And I know some people are really like
King James
like,
only. I mean, there's still a
Yeah.
lot.
Oh,
Yeah, a
yeah.
lot of that.
Where do you think that comes from? Like, I understand a lot of the history of the King James Bible, but why do you think people still hold to it as like the only version? Not everybody, but I've heard people say if you're not teaching out of the King James Bible, you're not teaching the Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to take that?
Sure. There's a good little book if you want to read it by D.A. Carson. It's called The King James Debate. Probably take you half an hour to read it. And the long version you don't want to read. There's a short version and a long version. Anyway, it's basically this, is that early on, it was the first Bible published and put to a printing press.
Wow.
And
That is proper pronunciation.
I'm trying to enunciate better. I've been told I don't always enunciate.
Heck with them.
Mumbler. Anyway, along with that, it was commissioned by guess who? Guess who commissioned the?
I'm guessing a king.
A king. Guess,
named
James.
Jim.
Yeah, that guy.
Jimmy.
And he ordained it as the Word of God. And so with that came this overarching power that came with it was people started just to assume that it was the inspired Word of God.
That version.
Yeah. And so that was just passed down as tradition to tradition. People, I met people who believed that Paul wrote that. Paul wrote in 15th century English back in, Ot 1.
Hey, if King James is good enough for John the Baptist, it's good enough for me.
Well, people would say,
right?
I had people say to me, if it was good enough for Apostle Paul, it's good enough for me.
I know, me too.
Yeah.
And I go,
fine.
This isn't even worth the breath I've got in my body to explain this.
They're part of it. Part of it is the argument they'll make is that it is a separate Greek manuscript tradition.
Correct.
Coming from a different place in the ancient world than the Greek manuscript tradition that modern translations are built from.
Okay. Right.
Our counter would be the manuscript tradition that we're using is earlier. We have so many more examples, so we have a much higher probability of reconstructing the original.
Right.
And there's consistency all throughout, like 1,000 years of, in some cases, of these manuscripts. So the King James tradition is a separate tradition from that. It has a couple of variations textually that the King James people see. Well, your Bible doesn't have this verse.
What's an example of?
There's one about the Trinity in John. I don't remember the example.
I was just
but they'll say, hey, well, your Bible doesn't have that verse.
Yeah.
And the counter that we'll have is, well, that verse isn't in the earliest manuscripts that we have. It's
So
clearly
it was added later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is the accusation they make about our manuscript tradition, that it was corrupted along the way.
Which is actually true.
Well, what do you mean?
All the manuscripts to some degree are corruptible because they are written down through scribes. The manuscripts are handed down from generation to generation by manual scribes. They would write it down. And if they feel like, the original author meant this, they would add some things to it or take some things out because it wasn't congruent with what they thought. And so, so the earlier manuscripts you get, the closer you get to the original, the closer you get to the legitimate, this probably is accurate, not the later manuscripts. Right. And there's two versions of that. There's the Alexandria that went that way, and then there was, where'd that go?
Yeah.
Anyway, another version went the other direction. So if the origin of everything is Israel, and the origin of everything is the Middle East, and then the letters scattered. For whatever reason, Egypt gathered together several of the letters and preserved them, and then another place, I forget, probably Rome. But anyway, all that to say this is that there's a good chance we have a really good version of the New Testament and Old Testament that are very accurate to the original. There's a lot of congruency. There's a lot of reason to trust it. The scholarship is amazing. They've done a great job of piecing it together. And the King James Version, I think, is a little bit of a red herring because I still think the essence of the truth is there. The essence of it is in the King James Version. If you can get past the Old English, it's there.
All right, let's go on to the second part of that question.
Okay. As the second part, do you think that the people who created the translation used today were intentionally attempting to give men more power over women? Depends upon the translation.
Yeah. Well, I think he was meaning the NIV one that we were using.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you guys think?
I think the key word in that question is intentionally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I would say I don't know the people that translated and what their motive was, but I mean, historically, yeah, I think it's entirely possible.
Would that just be one of the biases of our?
Well, I think it also leans into how you view accommodation by God too. I think part of what you keep bringing up, Mike, on Sundays and in our conversations is God accommodates our ridiculousness, our ability to pervert what is good. So yeah, one husband, one wife, go forward. Well, how about we have several wives? And God says, well, it's not ideal, but he works with it. He accommodates. And so you find yourself in this constant evolving, I know that's the wrong word to use when you talk about the Bible, but sense of God trying to accommodate us in ways that, so when they wrote from their cultural perspective.
Yeah.
Even the original, they wrote from their perspective. And so you get a male-dominated thing, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
You want to add to that?
Nah. I mean, I think that's good.
All right.
What's the third part?
I got to open it.
He's doing it's Face ID.
So the third question is, or were they bad at their job?
No.
It weighs on me when we say that the Bible is God's true written word and it is inspired and trustworthy. But if the humans that we count on to translate it are overly biased or intentionally screwing up the meaning, then how do we hold that? So it's the question of how do we hold that the Bible is true, is the true written word and inspired and trustworthy.
Right. So you brought up, hey, you could corrupt it. So why don't we think it was corrupted?
Yeah.
I'm asking you.
Why don't I think it's corrupted?
Yeah. Why do you trust it? Given all that we just covered.
It's one of the few, it's the only, I would say, preserved manuscript about God that holds consistency from beginning to end. And we're still talking about a carpenter who walked the planet 2,000 years ago. So there's part of these things are intertwined. There's an intertwined understanding of why it's reliable, why it is. But I've studied the actual scholarship around it, around the translations, around the keeping of the letters and of the manuscripts and I find I walk away compelled, and I also walk away going, there's so much congruency from beginning to end that it can't possibly have just been a human contrived thing. We're not capable of it. We're not capable of it like if a group of people got together and said, hey, we're going to make this up and we're going to do it in such a way that it transcends thousands of years, and we're going to start with an origin story that makes us look like screw ups, and then all along tell the history of mankind in light of all of its I can't think of a better word at the moment, stupidity, and their relationship to this God who continually, every other story about a God has very little to do with God's grace. If anything, it has to do with his wrath.
Yeah.
And so what is compelling to me is that all these different human authors wrote over a period of thousands of years, and you bring it all together, and you've got this story of a God who is consistently gracious, redeeming. And the story from Eve to Revelation, Genesis to Revelation is a story of consistent grace. It's amazing. So with that, having looked at it and studied it, and I find myself even more curious and compelled, and I trust it. But I also, part of me is rooted in this, and you've been there, Mike. Is I'll do the work if I have to. If I don't trust it, I'll do the work to find out. So, and that's what I would encourage you to do. If you don't trust it, do the work.
That's good.
Because there's a lot of work out there. The way that when we were doing it originally, there was no such thing as an internet. So
What?
I sat in a library for hours.
Yeah.
What's that?
I know, crazy.
Encyclopedias.
Why do you find it trustworthy?
I came at it interested. I found the person of Jesus interesting because how Jesus felt and how Christianity felt were two different things
For sure.
for me growing up.
Yeah.
So I found Jesus super interesting, and so to understand, and Jesus keeps referring to the Hebrew scriptures, and so that pushed me into like, oh, well, how did Israel come to believe these things?
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and then Jesus gathers this band of renewed Israel sort of followers who then are commissioned to write. And so there are things that I don't know. I find it compelling. I mean, there are all sorts of apologetic answers to the number of manuscripts that are out there, and the care that scribes took in reproducing the manuscripts and those sorts of things, and the fact that we have so many that we can identify variations. I mean, that's the killer. If we just had one monolithic block, then we'd all be suspicious. It's why I love that the Gospels are different, because if they were all just exactly the same, you'd go, oh, well, they just copied each other.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the fact that there are variants around the resurrection stories or, whatever, I'm like, ooh, I think that's good. And Kevin referred to something called the criterion of embarrassment, where the Bible includes stories that would, to the ancient world, make it suspect. And the fact that it includes them says there's a bias here towards telling the truth regardless of how
They're not just trying to make themselves look good through the story.
Because the apostles told the story of the apostles' failure.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
totally. They're showing their butts through the whole thing.
Totally.
In
I
a lot
just
of
find
ways.
that,
Yeah.
So there are things like that, but I think ultimately for me, it came down, I trust the Bible because Jesus said the Old Testament was authoritative. Because I go wandering around there and I get foggy.
For sure.
Yeah. But when I'm in the Gospels and in Acts, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so compelling. And then to see how Paul and others channeled what was a very Jewish understanding of the kingdom into the lordship, the worldly lordship of Jesus, through the epistles is really great. So that would be a short answer for me.
Yeah.
How about you guys? We got like a couple minutes.
Well, I mean, I think all of that that you guys just said, there's pieces of that were, I think, connected with me too. In just the, I think too, just my experience with Jesus. There's just, that my personal experience that I've had, and just, that maybe it's not empirical or it's not, but it's real to me. And so that people can't take that piece away either, Yeah.
Okay.
I just think Jesus is the best way to live. I mean, that was what was compelling to me. Is it was completely different than anything I experienced just as a kid or teenager. And so I think the human error piece has always been compelling to me. The idea that they would show their butts.
Yeah.
Because it's like we just don't do that. We don't do that normally, you know. So there had to be a reason. I think the nuances of stories. I'm like, this just feels very human to me. And so I kind of put myself in the shoes of like, if I'm a human trying to transcribe or notate these things, yeah, there'd be errors. There'd be things that would be different. But I think it's the essence, the consistency, all the things that I'm like, it's just hard for me to deny, you know?
Yeah.
And with the human component, like, I don't know, like we're flawed people with motives and positions and, you know, unfortunately, you know, desires for profit and money. And so things get twisted.
It is funny that the Bible is a for-profit business.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
So I know those things because of the world I grew up in. And so, I don't know, it's just been easier to go, yeah, there's a lot of things that don't make sense. And yet the essence and the person of Jesus does. So it's compelling enough for me.
It's a great ending.
Yeah. And
closes, Kev.
And I think part of the struggle is we want it to be something it's not intended to be. The Bible is to tell the story of God and how he relates with us. It is not to be worshipped. It is not part of the Trinity. It is none of those things. It merely is the means by which we begin to understand that relationship with God. And so don't make it more than it is, but don't make it less than what it is. Anyway, all that to say, we are still slogging through Genesis. One more Sunday.
This is the last one.
We're gonna talk about the snake.
Talking snake.
Talking snake.
This has been so good, Mike.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna head into Easter. We've got some good things coming up after Easter, but
What are we talking about on Easter?
Oh dang.
Bunnies.
Peeps.
There it is.
They have s'mores
Yes.
peeps now. I got
Yes.
some the other day.
Oh,
Chocolate dip. Sorry.
Twizzlers. Chocolate dip Twizzlers. Anyway, all of that.
hello, chocolate bunnies.
Thanks for hanging with us during this long, male-dominated moment.
Journey now.
Journeyman.
Journey out.
Peace.